I get to meet people every day for 2 months out of the year, and I get to build relationships for 4 years, do all that stuff, and I can get moments with them that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life.
I've met so many people over the years that I played lacrosse that I never would have met unless we played lacrosse together.
I just had so much fun doing it, and I've never really done something like that before. When I was younger, I did a lot of sports, but I think that one really just stood out to me because it was something different and something like I could tell was new. It wasn't as popular as, basketball or football. So that's what I kind of enjoyed about it, that I can be like, oh, I play lacrosse, and they'd be like, what's that? And I get an opportunity to talk about it. So I thought that was pretty cool about it.
Anybody can start in the sport, and if you have that desire to get better and you work your individual skills, you can end up going really anywhere you want.
There will be moments, whether it's in practice or it's in a game or it's in a debrief after the game, where there becomes something that is significant to this individual's growth as a young human being. And we have an opportunity and a responsibility to speak into that life and to speak positive things and encouragement and correction where necessary.
Probably my favorite memory of lacrosse is honestly just meeting all these people that I've had the opportunity to do stuff with, and that, like going down to Lincoln and staying 3 days over there and meeting 15 kids and going to do shoot-arounds with kids and all that stuff. And I now know that, okay, these kids are now my friends, and this memory of me meeting kids down in Lincoln and meeting kids in Texas and Florida and all that stuff, I'm just gonna have those memories and be like, oh, remember this? You guys remember that one kid from Texas who hit us in the back and then we went and hugged him or whatever? And then I'm just gonna have that memory of, oh, I remember I hated this kid for a minute, now I'm friends with him immediately. And then it's just that kind of relationship aspect of the memory of meeting all these people.
Lacrosse is just an opportunity to make friends no matter where. I've made friends in Omaha, in Lincoln, and all around the state.
I started lacrosse when I was 8 years old, and it started with my dad, who kind of got me into it since he's been a coach at Creighton Prep for about 16 years. And I think that's kind of how it got started, as a way to get out and maybe get active. But I think it turned into much more of a big part of my life after, I spent a lot of time with it, and I just found out, or just how much I enjoyed it.
I coach because I love it. I love helping the gentlemen kind of find their way, because at Prep it's a large school, and as an all-boys school, there are cliques, groups that like to do things together, and so by coaching lacrosse, I'm able to see all the way through the various cliques. The seniors talk to the freshmen on the team, and so they see each other in the halls, so they kind of reinforce the camaraderie that the team has, and in my mind, that makes it a great team sport.
And so when I look at the sport itself as a coach, and the three things that are fundamental to me, and I found them very practical. It's number one is to develop, as in the men's game in particular, develop young men of character. Number two is to develop highly skilled lacrosse athletes. And then number three is to win games. And I think that a lot of parents, when they hear that, say, no, wait a second, isn't this kind of backwards? Are we supposed to win games? Sometimes win games at all costs. And I found that when you really draw back and put things in perspective, and understand that the sport is about training somebody for life, they're probably not going to be a professional athlete. So what is it that we can do that equips them for life later on? And that is use these scenarios in dynamic athletic situations, high stress situations, to teach them how to survive life. And so it's about developing character, and you'll find that the measure of a man comes out not when things are going well, but when things are not going so well. How do they respond? And we have an opportunity to come alongside and to encourage and help develop this young athlete in that regard.
I've met through lacrosse, or I guess lacrosse helped me to find those people and opportunities. I wouldn't know half the people I know today, or have the relationships that I have with certain people, if I didn't do lacrosse, and you can't really say that about a lot of other things in life.
Lacrosse is just, it's a fun sport. It's a lot of action, end-to-end movement, high scoring. Unlike soccer where a 1-0 game is a great game, lacrosse, our last, one of our games with Burke, we were we were down by 6 goals in the second half and able to rally and win in overtime. It ended up 13-13 regular, and then we won 14-13. So a lot more energy, a lot more goals, a lot more excitement than a lot of sports.
When we develop highly skilled athletes, specifically in the skills of lacrosse, those things become second nature. We also recognize that same principle applies in life, and that is when we train ourselves, when the stress goes through the roof, we're going to respond in a physical way like we've been trained. And so there's a life lesson that's applied to that as well. In lacrosse, it allows us to perform at a high level in high stress situations.
A lot of football players or basketball players play lacrosse as like a hobby to stay fit in the off season or just to improve basic skills as an athlete. And that it can be how football is related to how it's family and how everyone has big relationships with football. I think it can be the same too. And I think that it can just really help out, help you to get active, help you to meet new people in your community and just have fun.
We had a player start as a freshman, never played lacrosse before, and then he ended up earning the first Division I lacrosse scholarship out of Nebraska. And all he did was he started as a freshman and said, "Coach, how do I get better?" And it's just basically the wall ball is what they call that, where you just basically work out on the wall, catching, throwing. Various different things you can do on the wall. But he developed, he played, he jumped on one of the travel teams, played in the summer, played a lot, and he, like I said, was the first Division I lacrosse player. He's playing at Cleveland State University.
So when I think about lacrosse, so what is it about lacrosse that makes it different as a sport? Lacrosse is a great cross-training sport for the first thing. I just want to bring attention to, and that is that lacrosse encompasses many skill sets required as far as endurance, strength, contact, teamwork, movement, and it incorporates those all into one sport. And it's a dynamic situation, and there's lessons learned in every game. The subtleties of the sport allow you to maybe perform at a high level, but the fundamentals of the sport allow you to apply those principles across multiple sports. So in that regard, not only is lacrosse a great sport, but it's also a great cross-training sport. So for coaches out there that are wondering, how does this affect my football player or basketball player? Well, I see some of the movement of a linebacker or a defensive back. I see some of the quarterbacking skills in decision making and how you move the ball around and how you work and develop plays. From a basketball perspective, defensively, I see movement, give and go. I see how you move and the importance of body position and footwork. And so it develops on a big scale a lot of these, or draws on a lot of these fundamentals that are important in other sports. So I really think it does a great job of combining several sports together in a dynamic situation that allows athletes to develop. And we're out on a field running, and I'm here to tell you that you will develop some conditioning over time as a result of that.
Lacrosse in Nebraska has grown a lot, and so it's exciting for me to watch because I have the perspective of starting coaching the high school league when it was at the YMCA for 2 years before it jumped off on their own. And in all the years of coaching, we've gone on to see that the various schools get more and more accepting of lacrosse. We started originally playing at a bunch of different fields. We ended up at Dodge Park for a while. And now almost every school can play at their school. For example, Westside can use the stadium, Burke can use the stadium. Millard West now has lacrosse lines on their field, well, soon to be done field. Creighton Prep has lacrosse lines built in. And so we've been hosting a lot of tournament games for the state tournament and things like that.
You can have certain skills and maybe be more skillful than another player, but if you have heart and you have hustle, you can make a lot of things happen. And that is especially true of the sport of lacrosse. And so heart and hustle are rewarded, skill will come. but it's a game of heart and hustle. And for that, I respect it and have many fond memories of having the opportunity to play at a high level, even having just been a walk-on.
You know, it doesn't take much to start a program, and NELAX will be very supportive if you do start a program in regard to helping the team get going. But the biggest takeaway is if you allow the boys and the coaches just have meetings in the individual schools to kind of garner support. It won't really cost you anything. A lot of lacrosse, the parents are used to contributing and covering the cost. So just if you're one of the athletic directors watching this, just let them have a meeting room at your school to set up a team, and they can handle it all themselves.
This is a sport that really focuses a tremendous amount on teamwork. And so I think in that regard, lacrosse forces us to work with others because you can't get it done by yourself. You certainly can at the early level. So if you've got a 5 or 7 or 9-year-old that's just new to the sport and is well developed as an athlete, they can certainly take the ball by themselves and run it down the field and do all kinds of spectacular things. But as they age and as their peers age, they start to realize they can't get it done on their own. And in this regard, lacrosse is different. It is a team sport. I can't put the weight of the team on my shoulders. I can certainly lead as a young athlete, but I've got to rely on teammates for success. And in that respect, I think lacrosse is a unique sport and brings life skills that are different than some other sports, and really prepares us to be successful for what we have in store.
It's a fun sport. When in doubt, just come out and watch a game. I know that there's a new pro league forming this summer that you can watch on NBC, so go ahead and take a look at the game, see how fun it is, see how much excitement it is, and we'd be glad to help your team get started.